Hello and welcome everyone to this live build session. My name is Jan de Vries and I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at Mendix. And together with my colleague Ryan Maki, developer evangelist, we're going to show you how to build a check-in app for restaurant bookings. And it also includes COVID health check, seat bookings, push notifications, and some other cool stuff. So Ryan, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Sorry, I think you're still muted here.
Sorry, I went on mute while you're talking. Yeah, it's great to be here, Jan. Thank you.
Excellent. Hey, can you pull up the slides for us so we can get started?
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, all good. So let's go through the agenda. So there's a couple of things we're gonna cover today. The first thing is that what we'll be doing during the webinar, and also what we're going to be making today specifically, what the use case is. And we'll show you a little app demo for the end result, so you can see what, if you're following along or building this yourself, what you can actually build as an end result. And next part is let's get cooking, or let's get making. So then we actually go into Studio Pro, and we're going to be making the app. And then at the end, once we've done that, we'll do a quick recap of the main things that we've built. And then it's on to the questions. So if you have any questions, you can submit them through the Q&A window at the bottom of the screen, and then we'll get to them after the live build. The webinar is recorded and will be posted afterwards on video.mendix.com and on the Mendix community YouTube channel. So be sure to keep an eye on that. If you subscribe, you'll get a notification. And if you want to join us in the live build, you can download the project files using this bit.ly link that you see at the bottom of the screen. And, or you can just download the project files and do it later after we've done the demo ourselves, because we might be going through this a little faster than you might be able to follow along with. So about the app itself. In current times, I think a lot of companies have the question that they're trying to answer, can I open my office? Can I let people into my shop? How do I assign space, desks? How do I make sure that I follow the regulations in the current situation? So today we'll show you an app that can actually take care of all of those things. So we'll let people book something. When they go to the restaurant, we'll do a health check, and then they can order their food, check out, and even get push notifications. So that's quite exciting. Hey, Ryan, can you tell us a little bit more about the app itself?
Yeah, of course. So to illustrate this use case, we'll be building a restaurant booking app for the owner of an Asian foods restaurant called Fusion Foods. So Jan, you're going to be the owner, and you're going to tell me what problems you're facing, and we're going to start building solutions in the session right now. Just a bit about the app itself is a native mobile app. There is no custom extensions anywhere in the app, meaning everything is either native functionality or is available from the App Store in 8.14.1. Yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Let's see a little teaser of what the app actually looks like. So here's a little video. So it shows that you can log in using either your thumbprint on Android or Face ID. Once you've logged in, you can make a booking with a nice date picker. And there's a little wizard here. So we're going to show you how to build that. People can select how many guests they want, and then select a time, and you can confirm your booking. Once you've done that, you'll see that in the app as well. And when you get to the restaurant, you can actually use that to check in.
Yeah. Okay, let's get cooking.
Yeah, so that's right. Now, before we start doing the actual build, I'd like to know from the audience what your current situation is. So I'm going to launch a poll that you should be seeing on your screen right now. Are you using an app to book a desk in your own office? You might be working from home 100%, or yeah, you can go to the office, but you don't need to book anything. Or maybe, yes, while working from home is the norm, you still do need to book something and make sure that you reserve a seat to follow the regulations. Or yeah, I go to the office most days and I can book a seat. Or maybe you're in a completely different situation. And in that case, let us know in the chat. We'd love to know yeah, where you're at right now. So I'll leave the poll open for a bit. And then Ryan, let's get started with the build itself.
Oh,
Now,
just showing my screen again. All right.
There we go.
Hope everyone can see.
Yep. So first thing first, I'm John Prost. I'm the owner of Fusion Foods, and I need an app so that my customers can easily make a booking. And yeah, let's start with that functionality first. Can you make a booking feature?
Yeah. So here we are in Mendix Studio Pro. This is version 8.14.1, as I said earlier. And yeah, so there's a bit of pre-work that we've done here. Basically, we've created a main module, and it's got a bit of a folder structure. We have some pages inside of it for the user. We also have some nanoflows, which are pre-made. But right now, nothing is really cohesive. It's not all put together. It's not finished off. So here in the left-hand side, we have the Project Explorer. And here you can see under native pages in the user folder, we have a home_native. So this here is our home page. And you can see there's a bit of work that's gone on here. We already have some stuff linking to your profile. Some nice display things with the profile picture, the date of your next visit, that sort of thing. Down here, we have some info on the restaurant. We have the menu and all the menu items just so they can see that immediately as they log in. So you want users to be able to book a table, right, Jan?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, so we have this button over here, book a table. Right now, there's nothing connected to it. It just has a caption and there's nothing else. So if we go and give it an on-click action, we can specify a nanoflow. So nanoflows are how we define logic in Mendix. So basically, this is a block of code that we're going to execute. So we can select ATT Booking Wiz, step 1, and we can click Show to jump in. Right, so this is a basic nanoflow. You can see it has a parameter of the restaurants. It has a start and end point, and we're showing a page in it. So this is an action.
Are you able to zoom in a little bit, Ryan, so we can see it?
Yeah.
Make it bigger.
Even bigger. I don't think it can go. Here we go.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah.
So this is just a show page action, and it's taking us to the step 1 of the wizard. So a key feature of a wizard is to show your progress as you go through it. So for that, we have this little container up top. You can see there the 3 steps to the wizard, which will be booking a date, choosing a table, confirmation. And you'll see as we progress through the wizard, when we're in the app screen, the progress of the wizard is going to be marked here. So it's going to start at 1 and it's going to move on to 3. And that's just done using CSS styling. So the first step to booking a spot for a restaurant is to capture the date they want to be there, right? So we have a table bookings data view over here, and that contains a date attribute. So right now, this is set up to just bring back a object for us to work with. That's all this nanoflow does. And then we can capture that date. It's got a custom format on it, and it's got some validation on it. We want a event to trigger on this when they select the date. Basically, we want it to automatically take them to the next step. So we can set an onChange over here. And again, that's going to call a nanoflow. And we're going to select step 1. ACT booking was step 2. Cool. So when we go in here, we can see there's some more parameters. It's getting a bit more advanced. We are creating we have a parameter, which is being created in the previous page, and we're sending it into this page. But before we do that, we synchronize the data. Sorry, let me zoom in. We need
there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, we need to synchronize the data so that we can be sure we have the most recent bookings. If someone else has made a booking on the system, we need to know before we create ours.
Hey, a question, Ryan. You're using Mendix Studio 8.14.1. Is
Yes.
that the minimum requirement to be able to build this app?
Yeah, so our Studio Pro versions are backwards compatible, but not forwards compatible. So if an app is started in 8.10, you can open it up in 8.14, but you can't do it the other way around. You can't open up something from 8.14 using 8.10, basically. So
Right.
once
So the
you've
people
upgraded,
who downloaded the files, you need to make sure that you download Studio Pro 8.14.1 at the minimum.
yeah, future versions should be fine, no problem. Cool. So this is step 2 of our wizard. Sorry, let me just get the zoom right. So again, you can see our containers at the top. We're using that same object we passed to the page previously. We're also just showing a date for the booking that they selected and the number of seats. So the number of seats here are very important because we want them to automatically get a table based on the number of seats. So this slider, it's going to slide left and right on the screen. And basically by changing this, we wanted to filter the results on the page. So you can see over here, we have a data source for the table. And this one is called DS get table by number of seats. So basically, it's going to take this input and it's going to return the table that matches that input. But there's nothing really fancy going on there. It's just a simple data retrieve. You can see we just get the table and find the one that matches the seat. So this slider isn't 100% finished. We need to set a microflow on here. A nanoflow. So when we change it, again, we need to call a nanoflow. For this one, we have an onChange event.
So just a quick reminder, Ryan, what's the difference between a microflow and a nanoflow?
So a microflow works via the server, so it's going to work online, and a nanoflow works on your mobile device, so meaning it functions offline. So a nanoflow, you can pretty much be sure it's always going to work regardless of your connection. A microflow won't work if you're not connected to the internet.
Yeah, perfect.
So here we've selected our onChange. You can see it's got OCH in the name. OCH stands for onChange. It's a naming convention. We also have other ones like ACT, meaning action. But basically here, when we change that value, all we need to do is refresh that object. So we're using a commit action to do that. We can do this safely because this is a non-persistent object. You'll see if I go in here and say, go to entity, here's the object over here. You can see it's not going to be stored in the database. Right. So that's everything we need for that slider. So that's going to refresh the page and it's going to get the data correctly. But once they have a list of bookings, they need to be able to click them, right? So we have a container over here. And a cool thing about Mendix 8, is you can set a on-click action directly onto a container. You can even do it onto the list, but that's a bit old functionality. So we're going to do it on the container, and we're going to do another call nanoflow event. And for this one, we have booking wizard. We have ACT booking wiz step 2. Oh, sorry, I selected the wrong one. We need step 3. So this one. Okay, so we're basically just retrieving the data which we created in the previous one. We have that list of bookings which was generated by that data source. And we're just committing it, making sure it's in the database so it doesn't get lost anywhere. And then the final action is to take them to the step 3 page. So step 3, as always with a wizard, or the final step of a wizard, is always a confirmation page. So it's basically a summary of everything they've entered up until now. And you basically present all that data to them and ask, are you happy with this? And they can then confirm that. So, I'm sorry, just leave my phone on silent. and professional. Yeah, so here we have a confirm booking button. So there's a microflow already attached to this. You don't have to worry about that. But yeah, there's definitely some work to do here. So we can see we have a message here that we need to do some things to finalize that booking. And here's another message over here that we want to do some sort of notification, right? So to do, you'll be able to see there, we need to link the booking to the account. We've got to mark the booking as confirmed. We need to alert the user. We need to show some sort of feedback. And then we need to take them to the overview page where they can view all their bookings and find the one they just made. So how do we do that? So step one is to link the booking to the account. So for that, we can use a nanoflow that I have here, which is called DS get current accounts. Just drag that in straight from the Project Explorer. If we go in, you can see it's just a retrieve on the current user's account. So we have the account. We now need to mark this parameter booking as confirmed. We can add another activity here. We're going to change that object. We're going to change table bookings, make sure it's committed. We need this to be set in the database. And we mark booked as true. Almost forgot, we also need to link it to the account. So we need to set that association. So the booking itself has a table bookings user account association. We can then just set account like that. Pretty simple. So we've done the first two. We've linked it. We've marked it as booked. Now we need to alert the user. There's a couple ways to do this. What I like to do is I like to use push notifications. So I've created a little sub here called sub_show notification. This is just a sub nanoflow to make it a bit easier to call it, make it less time consuming, and make it more reusable. So this expects some parameters. It expects a title, a body, and whether or not to play a sound. I've already put something here to save a bit of time so I don't have to type that out. So for title, we can just put booking at Fusion Foods successful. And then for the body, we're going to put your table will be ready for, and then the date and time that their booking is going to be available. For sound, it's a true and false, so just put true. So we've alerted them, and now we need to take them to the overview page. But before we do that, we need to make sure that this is synced to the server. We need to make sure all the data is sent back to the main server. So we can add another activity here to synchronize that data. Cool. Finally, we can then take them to the user booking overview page. You'll find that down here in the Project Explorer. You can just drag that directly in. So it doesn't expect a parameter, it doesn't need an object, but I like to clear the history at the end of a wizard. This is just so when they click back, it doesn't take them back into the wizard and they won't be able to change anything. Oh, so how's that for booking a table, Jan? Do you think we should check it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've built some cool stuff. Let's see what it looks like on the app itself. So Ryan is now deploying his app locally on his own device, and he's using the Mendix Make It Native app that you can download from the App Store to load that local URL, that local app, onto his phone, so you can actually share that with us.
So hopefully you guys can see my phone. Can you see my phone, everyone?
Yep, all
Awesome.
good.
So here we have the app. So like Jan said, this is the Make It Native app. We're connecting to our local copy of the app to the Make It Native app. You can get this either in Play Store, like you said, or iOS iTunes Store. So we have a nice login here. Cool thing about this is we've used the biometric sensors. So for Android, it's going to ask us for our fingerprint to log in. And for iOS, it's going to use our face. So this is an Android, so it's going to use my fingerprint. There you go. So here is the homepage of the app. You can see up top there, we have that little profile section. We have our book a table button, which we just worked on now. And we have a little menu over here at the bottom, so they can look through it and they can start previewing what they want to get before they even log in. Cool. So let's test out booking a table. So you can see the little progress notifications up at the top. You can see 1, 2, 3. The active one is 1, that's why it's green. And we have our little day picker. So I think the Sunday would be a good day, Sunday 25th. There's some bookings which have already been made there, so you can see it only shows the available ones. And I want to go for about dinner time, so let's say 7 to 8. Oh, we can go, sorry, let me go back. You can actually see I can adjust the seats there based on the number of the booking based on the number of seats. And you saw that the booking is changed there when I did. So I like 6 to 7 actually. And then
And the restaurant's open all the times, guys. Come on in every day of the week.
Exactly.
It's not very popular yet, but you know, maybe it'll take off after this live session.
All right, so here we have our confirmation page, and oh, has it actually, 1 second, it's disconnected. Right, so we have our confirmation page over here. And if we confirm the booking, let's see, give it a second. There we go. So, sorry, you can see there's the push notification we got. Booking at Fusion Food successful. Your table will be ready for the 25th of October at 6 to 7 p.m. Awesome. All right, John.
Sweet.
We can book tables. What else do you want it to do?
That's very nice. This is just the first step, obviously. Next step is once people get to my restaurant, I would really like them to follow the guidelines, health and safety guidelines. So can you think of a way to add it to the app that people can do sort of a health check?
Yeah. So for that, I think we can do some sort of page where we automatically sort of log them in and then take them to this page to check their questions and make sure they're all up to standard with the COVID compliance for that venue. So here, before we get started, I like to clean up my workspace. So I've got a lot of stuff open. So if you just right click up top, you can say close all but this. Just makes it a bit easier to get around and know where things are. All right, so let's work on this check-in functionality. So we have a button here, check-in, should have a hyphen. Spelling. So on click action, we want to call a call a NanoFlow. So again, in NanoFlows, we have now step 2, which is the check-in and health check. So connect this to ACT, check-in step 1, and we can click show to go in. Zoom in. So again, we're just starting off the wizard sort of check-in process. So we're just going to show a page, check-in _ native. And again, this page has been worked on a bit. We have the booking, we have some display labels just to give them information about what's connected to that. We show them the table number they should sit at, along with the number of seats. And then down here, we have our check-in sort of block. So right now, this health check details is just connected to a page. That's sort of for when they've done it and they can navigate back. But when we get there, I think it would be really cool if we could just scan a QR code and automatically be taken here. What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually. I can put up a QR code near the entrance and ask them to scan it.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
So there's a really cool widget in the App Store called the barcode scanner. I've already downloaded it to the project. So here in the toolbox on the right, you can see barcode scan over there. If we drag this into the page, you can see it needs some work here. It's not set up completely. It's got an error over it. So we
So
need,
just one thing, Ryan. I think it's a good question someone asked as well. Is sometimes when you create a nanoflow or microflow, you see this little red bubble, red icon on it. What does that mean?
so that is Mendix telling us, or Studio Pro rather, it's telling us that there's something wrong here. It's telling us that there's an error or something is not configured correctly generally. So you can see there, if I go to my error console, you can see property barcode is required. What that means is when the barcode scanner actually scans the QR code, so if I have the QR code here, when this gets scanned, it needs to read whatever is embedded into that code into an attribute in our domain model. Make sense? So
Yeah.
to fix that, we just need to set this attribute over here. You can say QR scan hash, and we need to do something else. So once it detects this data embedded in the QR, we need it to trigger some logic, right? So we can have an event here for on detection, and we're going to connect that to a nanoflow. We've got in step 2, ACT check-in underscore step 2 underscore scanner detect. Just look for scanner detect, you'll find it. We'll go into that nanoflow in a second. But one thing I want to do is you notice here, this has a little green bar. That means it's hidden conditionally based on some visibility rules. I want to put the rule on this as well, so that once they've done the health check, the barcode scanner disappears and they can just get there via the button, basically. So that is based on a attribute value, and it's based on the success. So if they haven't checked in, it should be false. The button will show when it's true, when they've succeeded. Okay, so we can now go into this nanoflow. Zoom in a bit for you guys. So what are we doing here?
Bigger, bigger.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, my resolution. So
Perfect. That's good.
as I said, when this barcode gets scanned, it's going to have a code in it. The restaurant has an identical code. So what we want to do here is we want to check on this split here. Does the code in the QR code match what we have in the database for that restaurant, or the restaurant, basically? And it's just an equals comparison, and it has a true and false outcome. So there's that Boolean that we use to hide that barcode scanner. We're just marking it as true, submitting that data. And we're starting off the health check over here. So let's go to the health check page, and I'll talk you through this. So the questions themselves here are not entirely important. These are based on my local restrictions. So this is sort of set up for London. It's basically some disclaimers connected to these Boolean attributes, just true and false attributes. If you wanted, you could change these questions for your local restrictions to match what your local government wants. For us, this is pretty much okay. So this is a simple page just with some true and false questions on it. The important thing here is that we validate these answers correctly. So on the submit button down here, if we go onto that on-click nanoflow, you can see here, it's already sort of started. So once again, it's not finished, but you can see over here, those first 4 questions, the way we are validating them, you can change this validation if you would want, but the first 4 need to be false, and the last one needs to be true. For a Boolean value, you can just put just that value in the expression. You can see we're just saying they haven't had a positive test in the last 14 days, and that results in a true and false answer. So the success branch is all good. We just commit the data and close the page. Nothing really too exciting there. But what if they fail? We have to do some actions. Firstly, we need to block this user, and then we need to tell them why we blocked them, basically, because otherwise they'll just be like, what the hell, what is this app doing, you know? So if we just put in an activity here to change an object, we're going to change the check-in object, make sure it's committed. and we're going to set blocked as true. So blocked is, again, a Boolean variable. I like to use Booleans as validation attributes because they're pretty much black and white. You know it's either correct or it's wrong. After that, we need to tell them why. And for that, we can just show a message to the user. So we can say show message. And what we want, I've already pre-made a little statement here. Basically, it's telling them that we can't let you into the venue because you failed our health questionnaire. Sorry, can't come in, basically. And then we just take the user home if they do fail. But if they don't fail and they're successful, we take them back to the check-in page. So just clean it up again. What do you think, Jan? We've allowed them to book. We've allowed them to check in. They can do a health check. What's next?
Yeah, it's a good question. So if I look at my customers, they're now finally entering my restaurant, but we still want to make sure that we run as little risk as possible. So once they are at their seats, I'd like them to be able to book their food or order their food without the need for one of our servers to be present with the people. Can you build that into the app somehow?
Yeah, so I definitely think we can build some sort of system where they know already what we want to eat and they just sort of bring it. And then also when we want to check out, we can just tell the staff like, hey, we want to leave, bring the bill kind of thing. So for that, we're going to need two things. We're going to need a menu and we're going to need an ordering system. So we already have a menu built. If I take you to the domain model here, I'll just explain it briefly. You can see the restaurant has a menu. That menu will have many sections. Sorry. Just zooming in so you can see better. So that menu has many sections. Each section has many items. It's sort of like a tree going down. Okay, so the menu is all good. We don't need to worry about that. It's all built. We have some nice icons here, but order is empty. So we're going to have to do something here. Right now, that's got a NanoFlow connected to it, so we can place it, but I don't think that's going to work right now. And we can check out and pay there. But we need some sort of view where they can actually see their order and they can get rid of things that they don't want, sort of thing. So for that, I have a snippet prepared. Snippets are a great way to save time. If you know something is going to be reused in multiple places, you can just create a snippet. You can just right click and say extract snippet. Really that easy. So this one, we can just drag order underscore SMP. It's in the check-in folder. You can just drag that into the data view. Cool. So go inside there. You can see, we've got a order total up top here. We have a order item. We've got some title, description, and price. These are just labels connected to some data. But here we have a delete button. Oh, it's got an NanoFlow connected to it. Oh, okay, there's something we need to do here. So when you delete something...
Can you zoom it in a little bit, Ryan?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Thanks.
when you delete something of an order, what does it do? It removes that order from your order, it removes that item from your order, and it reduces the price, correct? So that's pretty simple to do normally. There's something different you need to do for native mobile. So native mobile and NanoFlows particularly, they block the developer from deleting an object. There's no delete object item. This is for a very important reason. If you delete something on your mobile device and then someone changes that same thing in the server before your data is synced, can cause some pretty bad sync issues. So to avoid that, we don't really want to go that way. The way I like to do it is I mark the item for deletion. So I use a true and false again, just deleted true. This can then later be cleaned up by a scheduled event or some manual action from the administrator, or you can just exclude them from any calculations using that flag. But we need to also make sure that the user is certain they want to remove something. So for that, there's a very cool native mobile action. So if we insert an activity here, we can search for ask, or no, ask is wrong, confirmation. So show confirmation over here. So this expects a few fields. It's asking for a title, a question, a cancel, and a proceed caption for the buttons. So we can do something like this. Are you sure? And the question is, did you mean to remove this item? So if we just want a yes, no, we can just say for the cancel button, we say no. And for the proceed button, we can say yes. But that's not enough. It's just going to continue either way. So we just need to do a small exclusive split there. And we need to check this value over here. And if they had a cancel on that, we need to terminate the flow and sort of end it off there because they didn't want to delete it. So let's give this a better name. Confirmed. And we can use that as the caption as well here. And we can even reference it directly there. So for this, confirmed true, delete that item, remove it from the total. Confirmed false, just end it. Don't need to do anything else. It will just stop their action. Cool. So we can now add items. We can delete items. We need to now tell the kitchen we're ready to get the food that they should start cooking, right? A place order button here. Let's go in there.
You're breaking up just a little bit, Ryan.
Am I? Can you see me?
Yeah, we're good now. So
good now. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we need to do some things here. We have a show notification action. We need to change the order status. This order status is set to confirm. So this means they're certain that they want to place this order. There's no changes after this. And then we need to show a notification, but we don't like this really as it is. We're going to just change that message a little bit. We're going to say your order has been placed. Cool, that's fine. Get ready, your food is being prepared. I don't like that. I'm going to say the food is on its way. Yeah. And then we synchronize that data. Cool. So showing the notification is a good way to do this. If I go inside here, you'll see I showed you this briefly before, but I didn't take you inside and explain it. So the way we show a notification is to have a notification action. This is a default piece of functionality from the native mobile resources. This expects some parameters, which is a body, a title, a subtitle optionally, and whether or not to play a sound. You can also configure some action GUIDs and names, and basically that will be triggered if you want some sort of on-click functionality. So say you wanted to open a specific page with some certain data, you would then do those. For us, it's not needed, so we just leave them as empty. And whenever you get a notification, always your phone generally buzzes. So we're using another native mobile action over here, which is just to vibrate the device. If you leave it as empty, you can select empty from the dropdown. That's going to then vibrate for half a second, 500 milliseconds. Cool. So we've updated that message. It's going to show that notification now. We then synchronize the data, and the restaurant will then know that we have placed this order. But the final thing to do is just check out. So let's do that now. Again, it's all connected already, but the last thing we need to do is a few things over here. So what we want to do here is we want to update the order as finalized and paid for. We want to mark that booking as complete, show a notification again, and sync some data. Finally, we're going to redirect them to home because they're done now. So update the order status. We need to add a change activity. Make sure it's committed. The order status is an enum value. So a cool thing about enums is you can click generate if you're not sure what's in there. It's got a constant here and the drop down. So these are the values the order status can possibly be. We're just going to mark it as completed. So that's all good. We need to now change the booking. So we'll just copy paste that action over there. We're then going to change the booking and mark this as booked. Sorry, not booked, completed. So completed is another Boolean, marking it as done. So we've done the first two. We now need to show a little notification. So just state your logic correctly. And we can use the sub show notification again. I'm just going to copy these in to save a bit of time. And we're saying thank you for dining with us and giving them the total of their bill. And then mark play sound true. We are already synchronizing the data, so that one's good. The last thing we need to do is take them home. So we're just going to say here, show page. Don't need to pass anything. And we want to show the home page. Make sure it's home_native. And the last thing we need to do is just to clear the history of the pages. Once again, we don't want them to go back and go back into that order and change things. But that should be everything. So what do you think, Jan? Should we check it out for a final time?
You know what? Before we do that, there's one more thing that I'd like them to be able to do. Can you also make sure that they can actually pay the bill when they're done with their...
So we could. To do that, you would need some sort of third-party payment provider. What I would recommend is that when this goes off, when they mark as paid, the server will then be aware and they can come with the bill under PPE or something like that for the moment.
All right. Let's
all right.
check it out.
So we just ran that. Let me take you to the app again, back to make it native. Okay, we're connected. So you can see the app is automatically reloading. It's called a hot refresh. It's pretty cool, so you don't have to keep connecting. All right, so we did a booking already. We can now test the check-in function. So there's our QR code, busy, the barcode scanner busy opening up. All right, so here's my QR code. So this is just a data issue. I printed out the wrong QR code before this. Here you can see the admin side of things, going into the data of things. And there's the QR code. So if I scan this one, you can see there check-in success. Awesome. So we're getting a little message, please complete your health check before ordering. Here's our health check questions. First four, as we said, need to be false. The last one should be true. And boom, we passed our health check. Here we have a menu for them to start ordering. We have some drinks, starters, mains, desserts. So I'm going to start with, I'll have a beer. We're going to add a bunch here. All right, we added too many. Can't get that drunk. Let's delete them.
Very thirsty.
There's the confirmation popping up. Cool. We're going to have a platter for one. I'd like some chicken with an ice cream for dessert. Cool, everything's there. And we can then place our order. So my phone's in silent now, but you can see we got a notification. It vibrated. The order has been placed. And we can then check out and pay. Cool. So thank you for dining at Fusion Foods, and it gives us the bill total. All right, Jen, I think that's everything you asked for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan, for building this. This is going to be really helpful. And if you're watching this and trying to follow along, I hope it was a learning experience for you too. So now, Ryan, can you give us a little recap of what we've actually done, the main parts?
Yep, of course I can. Hold on. So just share my screen. So what did we do today? We allowed customers to book a table for a specific time and date, and we assigned that table to them. The customer scans a QR code at the restaurant in order to perform their health check. And finally, we allowed customers to order their food through the app so that we can minimize interactions with the staff. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Let's get to the questions. So if you have any questions, submit them in the Q&A window at the bottom. We already have a lot of questions coming in. And before we start answering them, I just want to show the results of the poll. So let's end the poll and share it with everyone. Right. You can clearly see that half of you all are working from home. And I see some of the answers were actually cut off because the answers were supposed to be, I don't need to book something specifically. And the third one was, yes, work from home is the norm, but I can book a seat if I really need to. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, continuing with questions. In the Q&A window, you can actually vote for questions. So the first question with the most votes is from Benoit Benheim. Since you use nanoflows, that means that the connection and the account retrieval at the start can work even if the Wi-Fi is not available. Is that correct? Is the account stored on the mobile app and then synchronized when the app sees that there is a connection again?
Yeah, so that's pretty much correct. When the app connects to the server, it synchronizes all that data. So it creates a copy of the data in your mobile device. Something you need to consider is your sync configuration. You can find that on the navigation tab. Basically, that lets you select what to synchronize. So for instance, account, we don't want them to see everyone's account. So you would put an export constraint on that, maybe just to only synchronize their own account. Yeah. But yeah, 100% it will work offline. It will always be available.
Perfect. All right, next question from Simon. Does Mendix have a way to call a REST API and parse the response?
Yes, of course. Let me share my screen quickly. So there's a very easy way to pass something into a service. It does have a few steps. There's some documentation on it, but basically we could do something like add other, and we could then consume REST services, OData services, REST, SOAP, we can do it all.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, and if you want to know more about that, there's a couple of sources we have, so make sure you check out the documentation docs.mendix.com. We have some guides, and there are also some videos that explain this really well. And next to that, we also have some free online training resources that you can take that explain this really well as well. All right, good question from John. Can we see the desktop version, Ryan?
Of course you can. Yeah, so I showed you briefly there when I went in to scan the QR code. So here on the homepage for the, so this is the desktop version. If I just log out here, you can see it's pretty simple. We didn't go invest too much here. This would be for Jan, who is the restaurant owner. So you can log in with your MX admin 1. If you do download the project files and run this, it will have data in already. You can see here we have our restaurant details, just some general click around buttons, deleting all the bookings. Don't click that if it's in production. But yeah, so you can configure the data here. Generating the hash codes is going to regenerate this QR code. Here you can configure your tables with the amount of seats and connect some images to them. And you can manage your menu over here. So here's our little menu that we had previously.
Yeah,
we can also,
and so just to make it clear for the end users, they won't get to see this, right? This is just purely for administrative purposes, and the users will only be able to access it through the mobile app.
Yeah, and they can also create accounts through this account page over here. They can just create a demo account when they log in, and they'll be able to work with that.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, next question. The show confirmation window, is that new in Mendix?
Yeah, so that's a new action that came out. I can't remember exactly when. I know it's in 8. It's one of the 8 versions. But yeah, it is a new feature. It's something we are quite excited about. It's quite a cool thing.
Awesome. How does the refresh all work in a nano flow? Do you have to be online for that?
Refresh all, do you mean commit actions? I'm assuming they mean a commit action to refresh that data. So you might have noticed that some activities in nanoflows differ from microflows. So for instance, a change object or a commit object, in a nanoflow, it automatically refreshes them if you commit that data. If you don't want that committed, I would suggest making a non-persistent object like we did for the table bookings _temp. So you can commit that without really worrying about, is it going to create bad data or anything? Doesn't matter, it's not going to go there. All that's going to do is it's going to refresh that data in the screen. And subsequently, anything nested in that data. So if we have multiple views, each one will be refreshed.
Right. Next question. Let's see. This is not for the right now, and indeed maybe for a different webinar, but how do you test this functionality? How do you do debugging, step through, checking variables, all of the extra stuff that you would do when you're actually building a normal application?
Yeah, so this application I built by myself. So I did have a stylist working with me, but in a real life scenario, you're going to be working with testers, test analysts. There's probably going to be some release management before you get into SIT acceptance or production. Some DTAP jargon for you guys there. Basically, you would need to make sure that your testers run test case on this. You could do automation testing to make sure when you deploy your app, nothing has broken. You can also, for debugging, you can't debug a nanoflow at the moment because it's offline. In a future version, I believe it was announced at Mendix World, in I think 9, we are going to support the debugging on nanoflows. So that's going to be really exciting. Look out for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is a good question. Can you actually make a booking in the app when it's offline? What happens when you go back online? Yeah,
so essentially the way it's going to work is whenever you are connected and you open the phone, you open the app, it's automatically going to try and resync data. You can change this if you want. You can change your sync preferences. You can also do manual syncs. So you can make that booking and it will live in your device for as long as you aren't connected to any sort of internet. Once you are, you can trigger a manual synchronization, or if you open the app again, it's going to sync automatically and that data will go and it will be on the server finalized.
Yeah. So for example, one of the things is you could do, for example, a 5-second check on whether there's a connection and then make sure that everything is synced, right? All right. How do we build something like this from scratch? Now, I think that's a very good question. And I would really refer you to the online training materials. They explain very well how you can get started with apps like this. And we have a lot of different courses and learning paths on the different topics that we've actually used in this live session. So we've combined a number of things here. So UX design, logic. We already had a data layer that we pre-built for this. And then we added some native mobile specific stuff on top of that. And for each of these topics, we have online learning paths that you can take for free. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking those out.
And just one thing I would recommend, always start with your data layer. Once you have that mostly planned out, go into pages. Once you have your pages, you can then connect your logic to them. That's the way I generally work. Yeah, and then always it helps to have a great stylist like we have who can make it look cool.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We have someone on our team who helped us do some of the styling on this, so that helps for sure. The next question is, do you use Studio Pro to also build the desktop version of the app? So, or is there a different modeler or different studio for a mobile development and one different one for desktop development?
Okay, so I think people are confusing Studio and Studio Pro here. So Studio and Studio Pro both allow you to work on the same things. So you can have an app in your sandbox and it can be connected to Studio, and you're a business guy, you're not that technical, so you need the web modeler kind of thing, or Studio Pro, sorry, no saying web modeler guys. And then you have some like techie guys, so they're going to use Studio Pro. Now, both of those developer environments can connect to the same thing, and you can edit all the same data.
Exactly. So in this case, what you've seen here today, Studio Pro, it's one place where you build the app for both mobile and for web. It's the same app, the same content. Yeah. Let's see. Benoit is asking, can we see the part where you generate the QR code? Not reading it, but the generation part. I don't know if you can quickly show that.
So I can show you guys. It's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. So we are using the QR code widget from the App Store. So we're using this QR code to create the barcode that they can scan, and then the barcode scanner is actually scanning that. So you can see this set up under the restaurant new edit page, and here we have our QR code, which is displaying the QR hash connected to the restaurant. You can put anything in a QR code, by the way. It doesn't have to be a link or anything. You can put text in, you can put whatever you would like.
Yep, perfect. So we're going to do one more question before we round up. So the last question is here, on the health check, you actually decided to hide the barcode or the scanner option when they open the health check. But what if they close the health check or close the app and they have to restart? Would it make more sense to check for that later when they finish the health check?
So you mean basically if they've done it, will they need to, if they've done it and they failed, do they need to then retake it? Or sorry, I'm just misunderstanding the question again.
Yeah, so I believe that right now when you click on Start Health Check, you mark it as scanned, so that when you for some reason don't complete the health check when you go back, you don't see that button again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think the suggestion was maybe it would make more sense to hide it after you've successfully completed the health check, so
Oh
that you
yeah.
can always retake it. Yeah.
So you could add a more complex visibility statement. So you could also add a filter for the blocked true or false. And basically, if it's blocked, it will still show that barcode scan and will allow them to try and do the health check again. So you can do an expression for visibility instead of just using an attribute value. And for that, you could do an and statement where success equals false and blocked equals true.
Yeah. 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 So exactly. There's a lot of options. So the option that we chose today was a simple and accessible one. But yeah, you're definitely right. You can make it that, yeah, implement it in different ways and different parts of the workflow that make more sense. All right. Um, Thank you all so much for your attention. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. If you have any more questions, you can always join our Mendix community Slack environment. So we'll share the link for that as well. The recording will be posted on video.mendix.com and on the Mendix community YouTube channel. If you want to download the project files, make sure you open that bit.ly link, and we'll share that later as well. We'll share it in the community Slack as well. So you can always download the files and just take a look at it yourself. Right. Thank you, Ryan, for presenting, for building, and thank you all for attending. And hopefully see you next month for another live build.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye.